Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I wanted to talk about a video, an interview with a popular actor. And I've talked about this actor. I actually talked about him in a previous video, but this one caught my attention for it was just it was a short clip. And I was like, well, that definitely fits into what I usually talk about. So I wanted to do a quick reaction on it. So today's video is called They Want to Smash, but Holding Hands, Taken Home to the Family? No, says actor Rafael Zulu. So before I look at this video, I want to just request that you all check out the video, like the video, share the video, consider subscribing to the channel, and click on the notification bell so that you know when I put up new videos. That said, let's get directly into this video for today. So this is popular actor Rafael Zulu. I wouldn't say he's a A-list actor, but most people know him at least. If they don't know his name, they at least know his face. They could probably connect him to some of the novellas that he's appeared in. You know, I saw him in a romantic comedy. It looked like that was playing on Netflix for a minute. So people know who Rafael Zulu is. They may not all know what his name is, but they know his face. So always want to put the videos into context. So today, considering what he's talking about, what he said in the interview, I'm talking about the image of the black body in Brazil. The black body in Brazil comes with a bunch of stereotypes. It comes with, black bodies are good for manual labor. They're good for, low-class jobs. Very sexualized image, one of those things where, black people are good for certain types of relationships, but not others. That's the black person is not somebody you really want to bring home. Okay. Sexual stereotypes connected to race. Anybody who's dealt with Brazil knows that black women are considered to be, they're supposed to be hot. They're supposed to be more sensual or sexualized in terms of, performance than non-black women. Of course, everybody knows what the tried and true stereotype about black men is. I've talked about that on the channel. I mean, anywhere where you're going to find black males in multiracial societies, the same stereotypes are going to hold true, and it's the same thing in Brazil. So as I said, black bodies are thought in Brazil to be good for hooking up, but nothing long-term. And then speaking specifically on something that Rafael Zulu said in an interview, I have to ask the question, who doesn't want to take him home to the family? Because this is what he said in the interview. So I'm going to have to go over that when we get to that point in the interview when he said that. So right now, this is taken from an interview that he did with the Verão do João program on the GNT network. So Rafael Zulu talks about the objectification of black men on GNT's Verão do João program. And so this is what he said. I'm going to just overdub what he said. I'm black, João, and our bodies have always been, always are. Today we're doing a lot of work to demystify this, but our bodies have always been seen as objects ever since we arrived here, brought from the ships by the Portuguese and the Europeans of life, Our bodies have always been sexualized, ours as men, women's, right? Through our aesthetic biotype, and I've experienced this too, okay? What our mutual friend said, that smashing, people want to, but holding her hand to present to the family, nobody wants to. I've experienced this too. But then there comes a time when it's totally linked to maturity, age, time to, a worn out tire that you keep saying, F no. It doesn't make sense for me to be with someone who wants me just for that, right? So you heard what Paulo, or I keep calling him Paulo, but you heard what Rafael Zulu had to say about this situation. Okay, I want to come back to him because this is his wife in real life, Aline Becker. Okay, I mean he follows the standard of what they say about black men in Brazil. If you got any type of money or prestige or you're well known, 90-95% of the time you're going to have a white wife. You see, again, the idea of whitening your offspring. The child that he has is obviously, I still see he's black. I've seen other pictures of him, but he's far lighter skinned than his father. again, it puts it into the motion of whitening the family within 2 to 3 or 4 generations, right? So I'm showing the picture of his wife, and I have pictures of his wedding also, as to ask the question about who he's talking about doesn't want to take him home to the family. So let's talk a little bit about Paul. Why I keep calling him Paulo. His name is Rafael Zulu. Very good looking guy. I can't take that away from him. But it's always a question when we're dealing with Afro-Brazilian men. Like, you guys speak on the race issue, but then when it comes for you to choose a partner, I mean, that question of race seems to go out the window, because even though you're protesting and you're speaking up about having better conditions for Black people in Brazil, you do all of this fighting just to marry somebody who's on the other side of the fence. And then all of the complaining you did within a couple of generations won't be worth anything, because probably your offspring are going to be looking like the very people who you're complaining about. Okay. So who is Rafael Zulu? Rafael Zulu is a popular actor and businessman hailing from the city of Rio de Janeiro. Rafael's legal last name is actually Dos Santos, but he was given his stage name of Zulu by a friend when he participated in a drama course. Zulu earned a degree in the area of telecommunications and was already working towards making a living in this discipline, of which he would go on to study for a postgraduate degree. These plans were interrupted in his early 20s when he learned about a TV story about an actress at INCA, in which a group known as Doutores de Alegria, meaning joy doctors, were visiting patients. Becoming fascinated with the group, Zulu quickly decided to put the brakes on his telecommunications journey to try his hand at acting. He was soon performing his first play, the 2004 production of Aonde Está Você Agora. That same year, he toured Brazil for the musical Eu Sei Que Vou Te Amar, which means I Know That I'm Gonna Love You, which would lead to a chance to take his talents to the small screen. In 2005, Zulu made his first television appearance on the novela Prova de Amor, which was shown on one of Brazil's top television networks, Rede Record, or the Record Television Network. Okay. From there, he moved on to Brazil's top TV network, which is Rede Global, or the Global Television Network, where he appeared in the novela Sete Pecados in the role of the character Leonardo. With his career starting to bloom, the actor would go on to appear in the series Casos e Acasos and Toma Lá da Cá. But his ascension as an actor really began to take off when he played the role of Caco in another novella, Caras e Bocas. That's from this picture's taken from, in which his character was part of an interracial relationship with the character played by actress Fernanda Machado, right here. This is from Caras e Bocas, the novella from 2009. In 2010, he took on the daring role of playing Adriano, an outspoken homosexual, in the novella Chi Chi Chi. Zulu continued to add to his resume, starting in Fina Estampa in 2011 for Global Television again, before returning to the Record Television Network in 2012. In 2014, Zulu would return to the Rede Global Network for In Familia, another popular novella. In this role, Zulu would not only play a gay character, but also shared a kiss with actor Heriberto Leão, seen in this picture here. Rafael manages an entertainment house in Rio's Lapa region and he produces events in Rio, one of which is the Tardezinha musical show in partnership with the singer and businessman Tiaguinho. This is Tiaguinho here. Tiaguinho is said to be Brazil's first Black billionaire. Okay. So that's Tiaguinho. It's Tiaguinho and Rafael Zulu here as they present the musical project Tardezinha. In terms of the Tardezinho show, which is full of samba and pagode hits, those are rhythms that, anybody in Brazil is going to be familiar with those rhythms. It soon became known as one of the biggest musical events in the country, with the 2023 edition of Tardezinha touring 25 cities throughout Brazil, in addition to 2 performances abroad in Miami and Lisbon, Portugal. This is a scene from a Netflix comedy that he starred in. Zulu has now appeared in about 20 novellas and TV series, 11 films, and about a dozen theater pieces. For his talents, the actor has also been nominated for 3 awards. One role that I can remember vividly that fits what Zulu said about the Black body being sexualized was in the controversial global television series Sexo e as Negas from 2014. Promoted as a sort of Black Brazilian Sex and the City, the series was highly criticized from the time it debuted by Afro-Brazilian activists for the promotion of highly stereotyped images of Black women and men. Appearing in the series, Zulu was chosen to perform in a steamy sex scene opposite actress Karim Hills. That's one of the scenes here. For the scene, The actress Hills remembers how the scene started off with kissing, and to the directors of the series called for the two actors to remove all their clothes for the scene. Hills remembers the director saying, "Now go and take your clothes off." And we were like, "What? But not even panties?" And she said, "No." Zulu, for his part, admits to getting, how can we say, excited, if you know what I mean. Rafael explained that it's impossible not to get aroused when filming, but maintained that everything was done very professionally. As the title of the Black Brazil Today article suggested, Sexo e as Negas dragged on in a blaze of shameless sex and lack of ideology. For years, in numerous series and novellas, this has been the role of Afro-Brazilian actors and actresses. They're usually the help, the drivers, maybe the bodyguards. They're the element of danger, they're the criminals, and they're also available bodies. So that goes in line with what Zulu was talking about when he says he feels that people only want to deal with Black people in real life for just like situationships. But as he said, people don't really want to take them home to introduce them to the parents or to the family. Like, okay, they're good to have fun with, but they're not going to take you home to introduce them to mom and dad, the brother and sister, whatever. But my question is, when he says this, let me see where it is. What our mutual friend said, that smashing people want to, but holding her hand to present to the family nobody wants to. I've experienced this too. So who was he talking about? Because what I'm saying is, Rafael Zulu was with one woman for a number of years. I think that produced a child. And then that relationship ended, and this relationship with this woman here, last name, her name is Aline Becker. It looks like clearly a white woman to me. So when he says they don't want to bring us home and introduce us to the family, who is he talking about? I would argue that he's talking about white or whiter skinned Brazilians, because the prejudice against color is very strong in Brazil. Like, you're not supposed to bring home a Black guy or a Black girl to introduce to the family. You know, if you're going to get married, have a long-term relationship, and have a family, you're supposed to bring home what's considered the standard, which is a white male or a white female. Now, people will make those exceptions, and clearly there are a lot of interracial relationships in Brazil, but there is, in middle and upper class society of Brazil, you're generally not, white people who are up in the higher social echelons of society, you're not going to find them married with Black people in general. What happens is that Black people who ascend socially, they often will choose white partners, either because they have a preference for whiteness, which they'll never admit, or they just happen to roll in social circles. Once you get into a solidly middle class or upper middle class environment, you're only going to run around, you're only going to see people in your environment who look white, or what we'll call Brazilian white. So who is Rafael Zulu talking about when he says they don't want to bring us home, you know, to meet the folks? So it appears to me like, okay, I can't automatically come to the conclusion that he's talking directly about white people, because as I'm going to show you in an article from a few years ago, Black and brown families sometimes don't want you bringing home Black and brown people. They want you to bring home a whiter person. A whiter person in Brazil has higher social status than people who are clearly Black or brown. So I would argue he's talking about when he's had relationships with white women in the past, and they were okay, you know, messing around with them. But then it would come time, let's get serious. Let me introduce you to the family. Like, that was a no-no. So it's always a thing of, it seems like Black Brazilians always want to get that validation from the white population. I talked about this before. There's an article talking about the validation we want is usually white. Okay. So while I'm talking about this, I want to go into a few other articles. Now, this is just a Google image search. The 2014 series Sexy as Negas, the Afro-Brazilian movement shut this show down. It was just full of stereotypes. Every week, people would put out a critique about what they didn't like about this particular series. And there was no talk of renewing it for a second season, because the Black movement just basically shut it down. Like, you know, is this the best you can do for a Black series? Here you have Global. They painted graffiti at the headquarters of Global. I think it was in Sao Paulo, in protest against the series. This is what it says right here. Global, and you know what, racista, you know, racist Global. People said that the Global Television Network has been racist for years. This sign here says, sex e as negas don't represent us. Black women soundly rejected this series. Again, I mentioned this earlier. The series Sexy as Niggas drags on in a blaze of shameless sex and lack of ideology. It's just like, if you're just going to have Black people on the show, that's all you really need to do. They're lower class, they got lower class values. Just show them rolling around in a bed, having, fun or whatever. And that's just cool because that's the image that Brazil in general has of Black folks anyway. Okay. Okay. So this is just this is the creator of the series. People took him to task like, okay, white man creating a series that's based around the sex lives of 4 Black women in lower class Rio de Janeiro, right? Nothing racist about that, right? Again, race is global. What does this headline say? Okay, so their headquarters were painted with graffiti, protesting against the series. That's again for 2014. There's a number of articles at blackbraziltoday.com if you want to check them out. I did probably more than 10 articles about that television series. Another protest, again, this is from October of 2014. Afro-Brazilian women criticized the racist take on sex in the city. As I said, Sexy as Niggas they painted it as a redoing of the popular series Sex in the City from the United States, except they changed the 4 white women to Black women, and they based the series in Rio de Janeiro. We are queens, respect us, is what this woman is saying here. Sexy as Niggas does not represent us, as I said in the other poster that the woman was carrying. We know the popular phrase in Brazil that says, the Brazilian expression, white women are for marrying, mulattas are for sex, and Black women are for working. Let's see, machismo here. What else are we talking about? There's a couple more that I wanted to show before I move on. Okay, disconnect, turn off the racism. What does it say? I can't even see what that says. The control, what does it say? It says, basically it's saying just turn off global TV for, this racist television series. Nobody wants to see this. This is not the way we want to see Black people represented on television. Okay, then I wanted to talk about Paulo Zulu. So as I just said, the woman that he married looks like she's clearly white to me. This is their son. Okay, this is him with his wife and Brazil's first Black billionaire, Tiaguinho, performing during the wedding. Just some of the guests at the wedding. And so this was I'm asking a question. When I keep calling this guy Paulo. When Rafael Zulu says people don't mind having fun with Black bodies, but when it comes time to take somebody home to mommy and daddy, that's a no-no. So I guess he passed somebody's critique, and he managed to, he married this woman. I'm wondering, the question would be, if he was just a plumber or the electrician, would this woman have married him? I've said it over and over again, white women in Brazil have a pick of the litter. If they can't get the prince on the white horse that's a white man, they can take the best Black man from the Black community and marry them. So white women have it both. They can have whoever they want, basically, because they are considered the standard of beauty in Brazil. What else do we have here? So this is why I said, I'm not even sure that it was just a white person who has the attitude of, we don't bring Black people home. But some Black and brown families have the same attitude, say, why are you dating that Black guy? Are you trying to dirty up the family's blood? Again, we've said this, for a long time. The objective in Brazil for many Black and brown families, they've been indoctrinated to marry white so they can lighten their offspring. So eventually, within 2 to 4 generations, their kids and their offspring and their family will pass into Brazilian whiteness. Okay. As I said before, Rafael Zulu, I featured him in a previous video. Brazil never saw Black people as beautiful, the emerging concept of Black beauty. This video is just talking about how the development of Black Brazilian pride and feeling themselves as being attractive is something that is relatively new. 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, people were doing everything they could to avoid being seen as Black. They would shave their hair as close to the scalp as they could because they were ashamed of their hair. Women would straighten their hair. They would wear wigs and, hair extensions or whatever, weaves. But in the last 15 years, you've seen this growing Black pride in Brazil, and it is something that's impressive to see. But all of this is still problematic because you develop a Black pride, but you still feel this need to marry white whenever possible. So anyway, it's still intriguing what Rafael Zulu had to say. Basically, he's saying, Brazil treats us Black bodies as just being available for work and, situationships. Anybody in Brazil, you feel like you want to weigh in on this? I'm definitely always want to look forward to hearing from Brazilians. A lot of people post comments in the comment section. So with that said, definitely like this video, share this video, consider subscribing to the channel, click on the notification bell. And with that said, I'm gonna end this video about Rafael Zulu and ask that you all come back, check out the next video that I post.